Hello and thanks for joining us for a late night newscast coming to you from Arirang's news centre in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome. And we start with the summit between President Park Geunhye and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang at the presidential office of Cheong Wa Dae. The two leaders had a lot to discuss, with the talks lasting nearly 2 hours. Hwang Sung-hee starts us off.
The focus of Saturday's summit between President Park and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang was on boosting economic cooperation. The two sides signed a total of 13 business-related MOUs, including bringing the Korea-China FTA into force this year and establishing a joint industrial complex. They also agreed to jointly enter a third country using South Korea's know-how in technology and China's expertise in financial raising. Another notable area of cooperation was the environment. The two sides agreed to share data on air quality and yellow dust originating from China. The summit is the latest in a series of talks President Park has held with top Chinese leaders. The summit was held on the sidelines of the first trilateral summit between South Korea, China, and Japan in more than 3 years, slated for Sunday. The last meeting was held in May 2012 in Beijing. Following the trilateral summit, the three leaders will hold a joint press conference where they're expected to issue a joint statement reaffirming their commitment to the denuclearization of North Korea. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
A newly submitted UN resolution is urging North Korea to join the International Labour Organization and comply with all of its laws. It comes hot on the heels of a UN report that blasted the regime for making huge sums of money off tens of thousands of North Koreans forced to work overseas. Geun-hye reports.
The European Union and Japan have submitted a draft resolution to the UN General Assembly's Third Committee, condemning North Korea's human rights violations. Co-sponsored by over 40 nations, including South Korea and the US, this will be the 11th year such a resolution is adopted, when it is passed in mid-November. But this year, there's a call for North Korea to become a member of the International Labour Organization and comply with all labour-related pacts. In previous years, there has been recommendations for the regime to work with the UN agency, but this is the first time that there has been explicit calls for North Korea to join it. This comes amid growing criticism of the North for exploiting tens of thousands of its own citizens in foreign countries to earn cash for the regime. A recent UN report says more than 50,000 North Koreans are working as modern-day slaves in the construction, mining, logging and textile industries. They are said to work up to 20 hours a day for less than $150 a month. The report also says that employers pay Pyongyang up to $2.3 billion a year in foreign currency, which they are unable to earn otherwise due to international sanctions. These working conditions severely violate the international labour standards set by the ILO. The draft resolution also calls on Pyongyang to shut down its extensive system of political prison camps and encourages the UN Security Council to refer North Korea's human rights violations to the International Criminal Court. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
US arms manufacturer Lockheed Martin has retracted an earlier claim that Seoul and Washington are in talks about deploying its THAAD missile defense system to the Korean Peninsula. The company released a statement on Friday local time saying it regretted the inaccurate information that was provided at a news conference a day earlier by Mike Trotsky, its vice president for air and missile defense systems. South Korea and the US deny any negotiations are underway. It's unclear what prompted the Lockheed official to make such a statement. The confusion comes ahead of US Defense Secretary Ashton Carter's upcoming trip to South Korea, where the possible deployment of THAAD could come up. Indonesia has signed off on the first phase of funds for the joint development of South Korea's fighter jet project. Government officials in Seoul say Indonesia's parliament approved the $78.6 million budget for the project, dubbed KFX. The cash is the first part of the $1.5 billion Indonesia has agreed to invest. However, the KFX project is thought to be on rocky ground as the United States refused to transfer some of the key technologies considered vital to the development of the fighter jet with stealth capabilities. Local developers insist Korea can develop its own technologies, but critics are not that convinced. Korea plans to build 120 combat jets by 2025. The number of firms listed on Korea's two major stock markets is expected to hit a 13-year high this year. The Korea Exchange says that as of the end of October, 88 companies were newly listed on the benchmark Kospi and the secondary tech-heavy Kosdaq, and that easily surpasses the 79 recorded for the whole of last year. On top of that, 15 more firms will be confirmed before the end of the year, pushing the total past 100. The Korea Exchange says that means yearly listings will reach the highest level since 2002, which is when Korea's venture capital industry experienced a boom. A Russian passenger plane with 224 people on board has crashed in the Egyptian desert. Rescue teams have found wreckage in a mountainous area of the Sinai Peninsula. The Airbus A321 aircraft was flying from the Red Sea resort of Sharm el-Sheikh to St. Petersburg. All of the passengers were Russian, most of them tourists. Now, security sources say an Egyptian rescue team has found the plane's black box and more than 100 bodies. The Russian embassy in Cairo is reporting that there were no survivors. Russian President Vladimir Putin has offered his condolences to the families of those on board and ordered a full investigation. US President Barack Obama has authorized US special forces to be sent to Syria to join the fight against Islamic State militants, a move that seems to run contrary to the president's promise not to put American groups on the ground in Syria. However, the White House insists it has broken no promises, saying no more than 50, maybe even as few as 20, will initially go in and help moderate rebels and Kurdish fighters in the north of the country. A US official said they will help prepare the local forces to retake and ultimately hold Raqqa, which is IS's de facto capital. Now, in Vienna on Friday local time, leading diplomats, including envoys from the US, Russia, Iran and Saudi Arabia, met and agreed to work towards a ceasefire in Syria. When asked how he sees the current situation in Syria, US Secretary of State John Kerry said the challenge is nothing less than charting a course out of hell. Now, in a potentially significant breakthrough, researchers in Korea have identified the protein that suppresses glucose production in our livers, and there's hope their discovery could lead to new treatments for diabetes down the road. Our Park Geunhye has this report.
Diabetes is a group of metabolic diseases which causes high blood sugar levels in patients because of a body's inability to produce enough insulin, cells not responding properly to insulin, or both. Insulin causes cells to absorb glucose from the blood. It also stimulates the liver to store glucose for later use to control blood sugar levels in the body. Now, a research team from Korea has discovered an insulin-inducible protein. When insulin increases the expression of the SMILE protein, it suppresses the expression of genes that generate glucose.
Overexpression of the SMILE protein significantly reduced blood sugar in mice that were fed high-fat diets. This is because the genes key to glucose generation in the liver have been suppressed.
The study was published in the journal Diabetes, and researchers say they look forward to treating the disease by enhancing SMILE expression in patients. Park Geunhye, Arirang News.
Now, in some local sports news, the Doosan Bears have been crowned champions of the 2015 Korean Baseball Championships after crushing the Samsung Lions in the Korean series 4-1. In the final game on Saturday, the Bears overpowered their opponents to win the game 13-2. The Bears pounded out 17 hits, carrying on their superb hitting form this season. Designated hitter Jong Soo-bin was voted the series MVP. The victory marks the Bears' first professional baseball championship in 14 years. And congratulations to them. Now, finally, taking a brief look at the weather. It's starting to feel pretty much like winter these days. We're going to see the overnight low plunge to below freezing in many parts of the country tonight. Sunday, however, will be clear and sunny, but pretty cold as well. The afternoon high in Seoul is going to top out at a rather chilly 13 degrees Celsius. With that, let's take a look at the weather around the world. Well, those are the stories we have for you at this hour. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out our website, arirang.com/news. Also worth checking out our smartphone application. Just search for Arirang TV. Just a reminder as well, we will be bringing you live coverage of the Korea-China Japan summit on Sunday, and we'll also have coverage as well of the bilateral summit, the highly anticipated summit between President Park Geunhye of South Korea, of course, and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. But that pretty much does it for now. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Goodbye.